All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at the Golden Attitude Era podcast for the 4th episode. We'll be going in depth here on the Midnight Rockers / Rockers career, scanning from their beginnings in the territory days up and down with the AWA to some of their affiliates, the brief spot with the WWF before they got fired, a little fight here and there, a little partying here and there, all the good stuff when it comes to the Midnight Rockers. We're going to get into it. But before we do that, I do want to kind of bring it down a little bit, more of a serious note. A buddy of mine and his wife, their daughter is currently fighting some health issues right now. We do want to let them know that we are thinking and praying for them, and hopefully she's able to get through this and you guys are able to figure out what's going on with her. Because as I've grown to know, she is was a big Enzo and Cass fan. So with that being said, it's obvious that Grayson is the true G in the room and is definitely not SAWFT.
So
The real G in the room, Grayson, feel better soon. All of us here in the Golden Attitude Era podcast, we all are thinking and hoping for you. Best of luck to you,
Grayson. We're thinking of you.
Shout out to you, Grayson. You got this.
Yep, exactly. And now, with all that being said, let's get back to the program here, and we're going to throw it over to This Week in Wrestling History to the Fassman.
Thank you, champ. All right. Welcome back, Podcast Nation. It's another episode that we all know and love, This Week in Wrestling History with the Fassman. Thank you to the champ for shout out to his good buddy and his daughter. Hope she gets well soon. I know no matter how old you are, having any type of medical issue can be scary. So we're all rooting for you. So I just want to give a shout out there, and a quick shout out to our commissioner here, who goes every week and edits all the debauchery and nonsense that that the champ and I put into this. So shout out to Commissioner Regal.
Absolutely.
So well done there, Mr. Stevie. Don't call me Richards Scalise. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into This Week in Wrestling History. We're going to go back to the year 1996. We all remember the year 1996. Let's see. I was 15 years old. I was a freshman in high school, just finishing off my freshman year. And let's see, what was going on in wrestling history this week from May 23rd to May 30th? I know a couple big things were going on. One involved a 2-night pay-per-view. So you're like, wait a minute, a 2-night pay-per-view, you might say? Yeah, it was one of the In Your House pay-per-views. And my apologies for not being more prepared in this. I have to go through the results it was In Your House, Beware of Dog. It took place in South Carolina. But when I say it was a 2-night pay-per-view, the reason why that was the case is because there was a big thunder and lightning storm that took place and the arena lost power. So I remember watching the pay-per-view and they were only able to show 2 matches. So I remember I was able to get the second show for free because we had already bought the first one. So we called our cable company and we said, hey, you can see that we ordered this pay-per-view. We should be able to get the second one for free, right? It's like, yep, perfect. Lock it up. So it's outstanding. So basically it was a pay-per-view called Beware of Dog because it was a feud between Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog, who was managed at the time by who, guys?
James.
Champ, you know this. Who was Bulldog managed by?
James E.
Cornette. And who was the attorney?
Mr. Clarence Mason.
And do you guys remember what the feud was all about with the Shawn and Bulldog?
Yeah. So there was Bulldog's wife, Diana Smith Hart, right? They were saying that Shawn Michaels was basically trying to make moves on her, I think was.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah.
Yep. Very, very good. So we all remember. So obviously it was supposed to be on a Sunday night, but because of the storm, a lot of the matches were pushed to that Tuesday. So obviously they couldn't do any results on Raw. So they just continued the feud for one more night before the match. So it actually ended in if I remember correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong, didn't it end in like a draw? Because
I think it was
Bulldog thought he had won, Shawn thought he'd won, so Gorilla Monsoon came out and they just declared it a no contest.
Yeah, I think it was a German suplex maybe, and both their shoulders were down or something. I vaguely remember it.
I don't think that feud ever continued, did it? Because I remember, didn't Shawn have like a feud after that with Vader or something?
Vader, yeah, it was only a couple months.
Dreadful, in my opinion, a dreadful feud.
I believe that's the time where it was Hart, Vader, Michaels, and like they were all like having matches all over the place to get who was the real person, and then ultimately they just ended up throwing the Undertaker in there because he was the Undertaker. Am I right with that one? Like that. Like
you might be thinking of the Final Four pay-per-view, which was '97. You might be possibly.
Am I a year or two?
It may be a year early. Yeah, maybe a year early. But I mean, a lot of those guys were all in the mix there anyway.
Yeah.
So no, that's always good. So like I said, there was a lot of good matches on that pay-per-view. But that was the main thing that people remember was Shawn versus Bulldog. I see the champ shaking his head at me. What's going on, champ?
I disagree with you on that one. That's all. But I'll let you go.
No. What do you got? Talk to me.
Well, what I would say I remember the most is the match that the lights went out on. You know, you had Savio Vega and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the middle.
They redid that match
of a Caribbean strap match, though.
Yeah.
But if you've listened to Austin's interviews or even Savio Vega's interviews, they've talked about how they went ahead and continued and completed the match during the dark, and all the crowd could hear was the smacking of that on themselves.
That's awesome.
So Austin was like cursing up a storm when that went out, like in his interview about how he was so sore and had to go out back and do it again the next day. So that's the only disagreement I have, but everything else I'm with you on.
Okay. So, and again, my apologies for looking stuff up on my phone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm usually more prepared. I've been very busy recently, so my apologies, but I do have the results from the 2-night pay-per-view. Some of them that we forgot about, like I said, Savio Vega beating Austin, Yokozuna beating Vader, not the great, with James E. Cornette as the manager.
Yeah. Switched on, didn't he?
What?
Because Cornette was with Vader.
Yeah, right. He was Vader. Right.
Yeah,
Yep. You had Jake Roberts, who could still go at the time, beating Justin Bradshaw.
Wasn't that John Black?
No, not yet. Not John Bradshaw Layfield yet.
No. Blackhawk or something like that. It was the big Texas dude. He had the red tights on. He had the long hair and the ponytail, and Jebediah was outside.
Uncle
Zebekiah.
Zebekiah.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my question. Who was the manager?
Yeah, Uncle
Zebekiah.
What was? I'm sorry to kind of go on a tangent here, but what was his name?
Justin Bradshaw.
Blackhawk, Brad. Yeah.
Justin Hawk Bradshaw. Yeah. Hawk.
Okay. Hawk. Thank you. I couldn't think of that. Yeah. I'm getting the blackjacks mixed in there. Sorry.
Yep. And these were two matches that we didn't know actually that I forgot about happened on the pay-per-view. You had Ahmed Johnson, who we've all had gone back and forth with that guy over the last couple of shows.
Yeah.
He defeated the King, Jerry Lawler.
Oh yeah.
And then you had the Ultimate Warrior defeating, may he rest in peace, Owen Hart.
Oh wow, Warrior versus Owen Hart.
So
I remember that one.
But that was the fun part about the In Your House 1 and 2 Beware of Dog. So that happened on May 26th and May 28th. Now to the main part of 1996. What happened on the Monday night in between those two? May 27th, 1996. Does anybody have any ideas?
It was my birthday. It was
Monday
my birthday.
Nitro from Duluth, Georgia. What was that?
It was my 11th birthday, May 20th.
You're 11 years old that day? Happy upcoming birthday there, Commissioner.
Thank you.
The medium-sized Meng showed up on Monday Night Raw before the big guy came a couple weeks later.
That's right.
Yep. Scott Hall invades Monday Nitro.
Those interviews were so good.
Awesome.
Yep.
And medium-sized Meng. Wow, what did he call Scott Hall after he said that?
My big buddy.
My big buddy. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So Scott Hall invades WCW, and this was at the time when they had Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, not in the big booth by the entrance ramp. They were actually at the ring trying to do what they do on Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
So Scott Hall just comes through the crowd. They have no clue what's going on.
Yep.
He comes over the railing, walks right behind them, and just walks right into the ring, interrupts the match. Does everybody remember?
I do.
Remember what the match? I want to say it was like Alex Wright.
Mm-mm.
Who was it?
No, you'll never. I mean,
Hammer.
No, not Van Hammer. It was so I looked it up because after I looked up, I was like, oh yeah, I can hear Schiavone or Larry Zbyszko was on commentary too.
Zbyszko, not Heenan. Yeah, it was Zbyszko.
And it was so you'll probably not know these names at all, but it was Steve Dahl, who wrestled in WWF as. Do you remember the tag team Well Done?
Yeah.
They're like jobber. I mean, they weren't jobbers, but they're like pretty shitty. So
I
Steve
do.
Dahl was Stephen Dunn, and then the Mauler. He was wrestling the Mauler, who also known as Mike Enos is his real name, I think, but he was one half of the Beverly Brothers.
Okay.
So two former like WWF lower ranked tag team guys were in the ring when Scott Hall came in, which I thought was
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
because I always thought it was like Alex Wright, Das Wunderkind, Alex Wright, versus somebody, but I tried looking that up. Like, what was the match?
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember. But thank you for that.
I feel like Alex Wright is always the guy that we throw in there whenever we're not sure about a WWE.
When in doubt, throw Alex.
And
When in doubt, throw
it's
Das
kinda-
Wunderkind in there.
He's kind of like the McCown of the NFL quarterbacks. Like,
Yes.
who did this? I don't know. It had to be a McCown on the team
Right,
somewhere.
yeah.
You know
Or
what I
Cade
mean?
McNown. You have a McNown or a McCown.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, he came in, interrupted the match, and the refs and the referee just tells there was actually only one wrestler in the ring at the time. I thought there were two, but there was actually only one. So the ref and the man showed like, get out of the ring. Just get out of the ring.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, he just goes off.
Yep.
Like Scott Hall does like a 10-minute promo.
Yep.
Do
you remember what he said?
And literally for weeks, everybody thought that and everybody thought for weeks that that it was all a shoot, and that that WWF was really invading WCW.
Yeah.
No one knew
that
he was that him, and a couple weeks later Nash were actually signed because there wasn't like all these websites. There wasn't Dave Meltzer. Sorry, Kyle. There wasn't Busted Open. Shout out to Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca. So
put us on your show.
No, everybody thought that it was like a real shoot that WWF was going to start bringing in wrestlers to invade WCW. So Corey,
Scales had a question for you. I know the answer, so I'm going to let him ask it to you since you're
What's
not
up, Commissioner?
Do you remember his first words, like on the mic? Do you remember what he said? Scott Hall.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Perfect. Like that's so. It was awesome. It's like, holy shit, this WWF guy is showing up, and he's saying who he is. He's Razor Ramon. You know who I am, but you don't know why. Like that was wild as a kid.
But you don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
Can we talk about two things about Scott Hall that night?
Sure.
The all denim.
The denim jacket with the matching.
It was totally opposite from his Razor Ramon.
Vest.
Yeah, you're right. It was a vest.
And his hair was dripping.
Yeah.
Dripping. I didn't know if that was like, I don't even know, man. It's like, what did you put in that thing, dude? Because that's not water. That stuff should have dried out underneath those lights a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that whole segment was just classically great.
Great.
Like you were saying, Sabani
Shabani?
Sabisco.
Yeah.
He sold it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Yeah.
That one line just sits in my head. His voice is very distinct on that one. So yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I said, for the next couple of weeks, like you have.
Did anything else happen on that show?
That was the main thing that I remember from that show.
Yeah, obviously, I have to go back and look.
They literally could have put that last.
Yeah.
No. You got to put that first. And I say
it wasn't first. It was right in the middle. It was like right at the top of the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah. All right. Well, whatever. You can't put that last because you need people to watch, and you're gonna want to have people go all the way to the end, the end of the show. Be like, what are they gonna do next? What are they gonna do next? Because that was in the middle of the.
Sorry, no, good. Sorry.
That was in the middle of the wars, right? Like
No,
that
just
was
it just starting it. Yeah.
Well, they were always on Monday night together, right? Like
Right.
They were always,
but they weren't doing anything. WCW wasn't doing anything until that started.
Oh, like it wasn't must see.
They were
TV
always
yet.
the competition wasn't as fierce, but they were always in competition. I guess what I was trying to get across there.
Right.
So that like you got all they're trying to do is win an hour, win this, win that. So my thought process is I would put that early in the show, and then just have that just kind of the thread throughout the rest of the show.
Right, because then you don't know if he's going to show up later. You don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyways, that's what I was just thinking. I don't mean to get off track with Fassman.
No, that could have been something good for like when we do our fantasy booking, like with could we have put the Scott Hall coming into WCW first to make it think, are there going to be more WWF guys coming in tonight?
In the same episode. Yeah.
In the same episode.
Yeah.
So was that? Way, I think the placement was good.
I had no problem. I mean, obviously the way we know wrestling now, you would think that they would either put it first or last.
Yeah.
If you ain't first, you're last. Shout out to Ricky Bobby there. Good movie. So, but yeah, that's what happened in This Week in Wrestling, gang, for the year 1996, May 23rd to May 30th. With that, I will now pass it back to the $225.74 champ to begin our discussion on the Midnight Rockers, aka the Rockers.
Nice.
All right, thanks, Fassman. Appreciate your This Week in Wrestling history as always, and you can take those subtle jabs about my belt being diminished and go kick rocks, okay? Because that thing's always going to be the $1,000 champ, and you're never going to have it. So
listen, I called it a $5 champion earlier. You're getting that money back.
I digress, Corey. So we're going to get into the main event here. We're going to talk about the Midnight Rockers and the Rockers. As you can see behind me, this is what's known as, if I can get my fingers straight, this is what's known as the Midnight Rockers. As you can see by their dress and their attire, they were definitely out long nights and doing some hard stuff. If you're walking out thinking that's a good look, and we'll get into that a little bit here. But first, I just wanted to kind of go over some of the highlights of their career, building through the origins of how they first started when they weren't even a real tag team yet until they ended up going through the now infamous or famous, what do you want to say, breakup and going through the barbershop window that Steve's got over there, which I think is a very timely picture. I thought that was great for this episode. So to waste no more time about going through their little highlights here, let's get into it. So they first became a tag team in 1985. Ironically, almost this exact week, we almost had This Week in History about the Rockers becoming a tag team. Nice. Because they became a tag team on May 15th, 1985. So we're about 9-10 days away, or maybe about 2 weeks or so, depending on, I don't even know the date of today. COVID's got me so thrown off, and without having being COVID anymore. So they first started out in the NWA affiliate, Central State Wrestling, where they first teamed up. Funny thing is, they weren't even given a name. They were just kind of saying, hey, you freaking frat, go out there and have a match, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with you later, you know? I am more of a territory fan just by speaking from these two. That type of stuff is what I like about it. They just were throwing stuff at the wall to see if it stuck. And if it didn't, oh, well, nobody knew about it. Move on to the next show. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of stuff that I miss about it. And in this, they won, and in this organization, they actually did win their first title, and they still didn't have a name. But again, that whole not having a name is probably due to them losing it 1 week later against Batten Twins, who they actually beat for the titles a week earlier. So you can kind of see why they were not taking them too serious. They just needed to get maybe a little bit of heat on another team. I'm not too familiar with the Battens, so I don't want to go too much into that unless either one of you guys are going to shock me and give me a story about the Battens here.
I got nothing.
Nothing on the Batten.
Okay. Well, after that, they actually had their first breakup. I mean, I think these guys were just destined not to be together. They were destined to be together, and they were just destined not to be together once they were together. You know what I mean? It's like magnets. They bring them together, then you flip them over, and they push apart type of deal. So the first breakup was around 85. Shawn was kind of the one that wasn't really happy with what was going on, so he left and went back to Texas, and he wrestled for a little bit for the Texas All-Star Wrestling. Another small, I'm going to say kind of like an outlaw type of wrestling territory that was in Texas. Texas had maybe, if you look back at that map of the territories of Texas, they probably had anywhere from 8 to 12 territories within that state, because that's how big it is. Some being affiliates, of others, and working with the bigger ones. But that's what Shawn did from about 85. That's what they did around 85 when they first got started. Then, like, the real first big break came when they got up with the Ganyas in AWA, and they started the tag team back up again, and they got the name of the Midnight Rockers and Fassman.
After midnight.
You definitely know the song. You know who sung it? What's the band?
I'm gonna say AC/DC, but I know I'm not right.
No, Scales.
Judas Priest.
Judas Priest.
Judas. Duh.
Jericho would put you on the list if you didn't know that one.
I've just been put on the list to never get off the list.
Now in AWA was kind of a roller coaster for them, right? I'm sure a lot of us saw most recently the A&E biography that they did about Shawn Michaels, and they touched base a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Now a lot of
they went like a good half hour on that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things that they did touch base upon was one of my favorite matches that I first ever saw of the Rockers while just going through YouTube before the network and stuff came along back in like 2014, 15, or whenever it was. And it was the first big feud that they had too, against Doug Summers and Playboy Buddy Rose. Love that name. That guy was awesome. And that match was actually in what was known as Wrestle Rock Stadium. Not too sure what that is or where that was. But
sounds cool.
From what I read and saw, the crowd was live and they were all about it. Have you guys ever seen this match? Did you guys ever get to watch this match at all?
I saw a lot of it, yeah.
I didn't see that one.
No, man, I'm gonna tell you what, dude. You want to talk about baby faces versus heels? It was there. There was this part in the match where I believe it was Doug Summers was in there against Michaels, and they had him busted up, and he was just walking him over behind his head and kind of holding him up, and he brings him over to Marty and just looks at him, and he's smiling. Hopefully we'll be able to get a picture of this so we can show you guys. But he's just smiling, like going, ha ha, Marty, you see him? And the next thing you know, he goes over and just kind of throws, and someone kicks Shawn to the ropes, and you see Shawn just dangling, kind of like Ricky Morton used to do for the Midnight Express.
Rock and Roll Express.
I'm sorry, Rock and Roll Express.
Yep.
Though, like that complete, like looked like he was mimicking him to a T, that type of thing. And you got Sherry in the back, just being Sherry outside.
Yeah.
Just who was the manager?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Sherry. Sherry just doing Sherry stuff, man. Like
Sherry being Sherry.
It was just like, and what was cool about this, right? Like I told you, I'm so much younger than all this. I never saw this before. And going back and knowing Sensational Sherry as the Heartbreak Kids manager growing up, right?
That's all we already knew her basically as.
Right.
Exactly. And then seeing her come over, or seeing her like beforehand with Playboy Buddy Rose and Doug Summer was cool. And she still got the sequin dresses that she always had, and crazy loud character, which she always was.
Very underrated manager.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. That match was really good. The Michaels and them, I believe they did not get the W. I believe they lost. If I'm drawing a blank here.
They did lose the match, yeah.
They lost the match, but basically they won the crowd over in true baby face manner.
Yep.
I honestly, Steve Scales, we do me a favor. We look and see if it wasn't a draw. I feel like it may have been a draw. But anyways, as I go on, I'm going to keep going. So that match, after that match, you kind of see those two tag teams go their separate ways. You see Summers and Rose go on to fight against Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall.
Yep, I remember that.
Two people that we do know quite a bit. And this after they won the titles against Hennig and Hall, this led to the Midnight Rockers chasing Summers and Rose for the title all summer long, which was cool because another cool facet about territories is that you were able to go ahead and have long drawn out feuds, right? Like you didn't have to have them in a microwave type of fashion that they are now. Like, oh, I got a pay-per-view in 3 weeks. I got to get this boom, boom, boom pay-per-view. They were able to do, oh, I got a pay-per-view in 3 months. Let me draw this out over 12 weeks and get some real good stuff going in that. And that's basically what they did. Then one of the things that I did notice and I thought was kind of cool, and kind of because I am a heel type of fan, I really am. I like how they didn't get the belts. They never ended up winning the belts from Summers and Rose all summer long. Like you just make them like, and that match was in April of 20, right? So Summers all the way up until August, right? What did you say? So that's like good 4 months of them just pounding the pavement, chasing after these guys, probably getting screwed several times by Sherry. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I found the Midnight Rockers lost.
They lost.
That Wrestle Rock 86. Yeah. Yeah. And that Wrestle Rock 86 was maybe they called it the Wrestle Rock Stadium, but it was at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, which is
at the actual Metrodome.
Yeah. Because the AWA was Minnesota, the North Midwest. So that makes definite sense. So now, do you guys have any type of input or any type of questions about that match that I may have left out, or do you guys want to touch base on anything?
It was a typical like heel versus babyface match. Obviously, the ref gets knocked down, the faces take a beating, get bloodied up, which you never see now. Never see now. You would never see that now. The match would have immediately stopped if you dare see that now.
The blood would have stopped the match?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
okay, yep.
absolutely. They don't have blood anymore. Yes.
Correct. Yep.
Correct. And like Sherry did her thing. All participants from the heel tag team champs to Jannetty and Michaels to Sherry Martel, who was not Sensational Sherry yet. If you watch, they just checked that with manager Sherry Martel. So whoever was involved in the match did their thing. And like you mentioned earlier, Michaels and Jannetty, the Midnight Rockers, they finally were able to get over with the crowd.
Right. And what ended up happening after that match was they continued their feud. And again, it just goes on to like what they do. Like they're that famous first match that really put the Rockers on the map. It was April of 86. Then the match that kind of got them their revenge and gave Summers and Rose their comeuppance per se was not until Christmas of 86. So that's an solid 8 months of just a program between these two teams, right?
It would be basically going from WrestleMania, if you're going old school WWF, from when they only had the 4 major pay-per-views, from Mania to Survivor Series.
Yeah, or even almost Rumble.
Rumble.
Or Rumble. Yep. You said December, so they could have done it all the way to the climax of the Rumble. Yep.
Yeah.
So with that, what they ended up doing in Christmas of 86, AWA had this pay-per-view called the Brawl in St. Paul, right? So another big show in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they had a little steel cage match against those two teams, where this time another fabulous match between these two teams, bloody as all get out again. The Rockers came up and got their comeuppance and got their W against these guys, and that was like the first time that they, I believe, beat them in the whole entire feud.
Wow!
So just imagine the crowd.
Not for the belts, though.
Not for the belts, exactly. It was not for the belts. It was a non-title match.
Wow.
But so the crowd there was all about the Rockers, and now the crowd bought in. And I think this goes to good booking, right? I believe this goes back to why the product today is not as good, in my opinion, as it was in yesteryear.
Well, then you have no crowds right now.
But me and you go back and forth on this. It would be trash even with crowds right now. Yeah. But that's not part of this right here. So they ended up going ahead and winning that match, and then ultimately getting the titles from Summers and Rose. I believe in the following January, a month later, they defeated Doug Summers and Buddy Rhodes for the AWA Tag Titles on January 27th, 1987, I believe. I wrote this down earlier. That's the only reason I'm able to recall this from right, not because I know that much about it. So with that match right there, that was kind of the end of their run in AWA, because they started really becoming the Midnight Rockers and rocking at night. And they burnt quite a few bridges on the way out of AWA. And them doing that would cause a lot of issues for them later in their career, but also in the very near future as well. And we can get into that here. We can get into the next year of 87 to 88 in 1 minute. I do just want to remind you guys again, please go and check out all of our social media pages. We got at the Golden Attitude Era on Instagram and TikTok. We have the Facebook page, the Golden Attitude Era podcast. And we also have the podcast itself up on the YouTube, what am I, 50 or 90, on YouTube at the Golden Attitude Podcast.
What about MySpace?
Yeah, we're gonna get
back.
No,
we got rid of Tom.
No Tom.
No. So does anybody
we need to
else
pay some bills? We need money.
Yeah.
Does anybody else or anybody have any?
So I wanted to just jump in quick. So I didn't know much of their history in AWA, so I did go back and watch some stuff. But the big thing for me was I didn't know Doug Summers and Buddy Rose at all. Maybe I've heard the names, but I didn't ever seen their matches. And then, so when I watched parts of that match, when I saw Sherry Martel with him, I was like, holy shit, how ironic that like their first big feud and Sherry's on the opposite side. And then how pivotal of a role she'll play. Like they kind of like went apart and then they come back together. Like when Shawn is like ready to take off.
All comes full circle.
Yeah. I love how it works like that. I love it. I love how that works.
That was really cool. But where do they head? So now they burn their bridges, Kyle. What's next?
Well, they went to a few different promotions here. They went to the WWF for a quick stint. We'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. They also had stops at the Championship Wrestling Association, which is another AWA affiliate. And then somehow they weaseled their way back into AWA. But here we're just going to first jump into what they did in the WWF in 87 or 88. I can look that up in a moment.
All right, let's see.
So when they first got to the WWF in 87 to 88, their first match was against the Hart Foundations. Actually, at Hart Foundation. Let me make sure I know the name right. The Hart Foundation.
Multiple tag teams there.
For the tag titles, but this was at a house show. It wasn't even on TV. And the cool part about this, at least I think it shows like how high the office per se thought of them. It was 5 days after they left the AWA.
Yeah. So
like it was either let me throw them to the Wolves and see what they got, or I know what they have and let's just get them going right now. You know what I mean? Get them with our top guys and get them out there and hitting the streets. Right. So it looks like it's going to be great, but it was very, very quick. They only had one TV taping during this little stint there. Because they were eventually released or fired, however you want to say it, due to a bar incident. And I know the Scales got a little bit of opinion and some viewpoints on this, so I'll throw it over to him.
Yeah, so obviously the Midnight Rockers came in with a lot of baggage or, stories. These WWF guys knew what they were up to in AWA, and, and they were young and brash and, pains in the asses.
Burning bridges.
Burning bridges, they didn't come in, with handshakes welcoming them. So after that match, right, maybe, I don't even know how long it was after that, maybe a week, a couple weeks, whatever, they're out at a bar, right? There's other superstars there, and a wrestler by the name of Jimmy Jack Funk, who I've heard of him. I thought he was related to the Funk brothers, but he's not related. Storyline wise, he was, but his real name is Farron Barr. And if you guys
Jack Funk,
Jimmy Jack. Jimmy Jack Funk. Real name Farron Barr, who is the brother of Art Barr. I don't know if you guys know, like Eddie Guerrero's tag team partner when he first started. That's who he was. Farron Barr.
That's deep. Anyway, that was deep, Stevie.
I didn't know who he was, so I wanted to figure out who he was. So, anyways, this guy, he was a tough guy, and he says, who do you guys think you are? You come in here, you're supposed to be tough, and you party all night. You think you're hot shit. He takes a bar glass and he bites it, and he starts eating the glass, and he's looking at Shawn Michaels. He's like, you think you're tough? Can you do something like that? So Shawn Michaels takes a glass, and whether he might have bitten it, but he took a bar bottle and he smacked it on the ground, and he caused a scene. And now the stories start expanding, right? It's like Aesop's fables the day after, right? All the wrestlers have a different version telling Vince McMahon,
they're breaking glass and
they're breaking glass. People. Yeah. It just kept expanding. And on top of that, apparently, so I was listening to something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, and he was giving his side of the story. And on top of the beer bottles and all that, Marty Jannetty started hitting on this girl at the bar that Jimmy Jack Funk was trying to get with. And Marty Jannetty, I guess, slept with her, took her to his hotel room, and that added even more on top of, we hate these damn guys. We got to get them out of here. They shouldn't be here in the first place. So now nobody.
Yeah, I heard something like that, Steve, because I remember in some type of shoot interview that I found online, it was either Marty Jannetty or one he was involved with. They have a bunch of compilations where they were talking about how him and Michaels got into fights all the time, and one time Coco Beware almost beat him, beat somebody up, and he's a serious dude. So all this stuff that they're saying, right? Like those stories, are the type of stories that they're hearing, like people coming out bloody.
Right. So does
it surprise you that they get fired?
No. So what happens is pretty much the next day or soon thereafter, Vince invites them both to his house in Greenwich, and he greets them at the door. And and Shawn Michaels has these nice cowboy boots on, and apparently Vince says to him, these boots are made for walking. And and they're like, oh fuck, we're done. But he didn't say anything at that point. They went in, they had lunch or whatever, and he told him, I gotta let you go. This reputation doesn't fit in here with these guys. They don't want you here. It's a family. We're gonna have to let you go.
Yep.
And that was basically the end of their first run, if you want to call it a run. It was like so short. But then after that, they're heading back, and they're going many places. And Kyle's going to tell us where they headed after that.
Yeah. So at this point, their reputation was definitely preceding them. WWF got rid of them. When they went from the AWA to WWF, they kind of gave them the finger because they thought they made the big time and they had nothing to worry about, right? Well, they're now out of a job, and what is this tag team going to do? Well, they did have a short run in Continental Wrestling, but really nothing to note there. The team was, quote unquote, released 2 weeks after a new booker. You know how people think they're sitting pretty, then a new boss comes in or a new booker comes in? Well, Bullet Bob Armstrong took over, and let's say HBK was not feeling him. He said, I'm out, right? So then they went to CWA in Memphis, which is an AWA affiliate, right? So Vern Gagne, it's kind of like, I know these guys are money because they've made me money. I know this is money. So let me at least have my claws into them a little bit, but not have to deal with all their BS up here where I'm at in Minnesota, right? So the Rockers, which I didn't know, actually become a heel tag team in CWA Memphis. And it kind of started with a manager that I did not know about until I started doing some research here. And the old Fassman has become a big old fan of him since I showed him to him. And that is Mark Gullin. It was a bad guy wrestler, or a bad guy manager, and a big known wrestler that he had at the time was the Missing Link, I believe. Was that the? I believe that's the correct person that he was with. Am I right with that one?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't know who was in his stable. He was
I
funny,
think
though.
it was the Link, because in one of the interviews that I'm about to mention, he was tearing up the desk and everything, and Mark Gullin was talking about how he was so powerful and all this, and the one reason why he was ultimately going to get to saying he wanted the Rockers was because they beat this guy, and I believe it's the Link. I'm like about 90% confident there. We can take some corrections in the form of the mailbag that we got going. So, but anyways, what ended up happening is this Mark Gullin guy starts out saying, "I'll give you $2,000," and the announcer and the crowd, which is cool because it's a what do you want to say? A television show, right? A television crowd. They're right on top of them. You can hear them like specifically talking. Then it was basically them just talking about how he wants money, how they want more money, and we'll also make a decision next week. And I know that with this episode, with this right here, this interview, it kind of like put a new light on everything I was looking at with these guys, right? So I know the Fassman is itching. I can tell by the way he's sitting right now to talk about. He's sitting straight up, ready to go on this topic.
He's a Gullin guy.
Mark Gullin. So what was, I want to really know this before you get into the Rockers. What was your take on this interview specifically?
Well, to be honest, I've always been a fan of a good heel manager.
Yeah, right.
Whether it be Sherry, Heenan in WCW, Heenan, WWF, the family. This guy, Mark Gullin, with his House of Gullin. And if you go back and watch the interview, ladies and gentlemen, you'll understand where I'm coming up with this guy. He reminds me very much of Heenan. He did all, or Heyman now.
I see Heyman more.
Yeah.
He does all the talking. He doesn't force his stable. That was the word I was looking for.
Yep.
To have to speak unless they really wanted to speak. He made his stable the heels that they ultimately were. Like with Heenan, well, Flair, like Heenan with Perfect and Flair, but Flair was already a heel. Flair was already perfect on the, no pun intended, perfect on the mic. The way that interview went on December 12th of 87 in Memphis Wrestling, it made it even better because you had, like I said, you had Jannetty, you had Michaels, and if you go back and watch it, you had a younger Jerry Lawler.
I was wondering if you were going to mention him.
Nope, I was about to do that. You have a young Jerry Lawler that comes out there and tries to talk some sense into the Rockers from not ultimately signing with this guy.
Right. So Corey, when that was going on, how about the crowd and the girls, or when they're yelling? Did you guys hear them?
Yeah.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Steve, did you hear that?
Oh yeah,
That was like that was great. Like indie, like what territorial wrestling was all about. You had everybody right there, packed, small crowds. It was great. It's sort of like wrestling up here in New York, where they would have, like at state fairs or county fairs, they would have all these indie type shows, like packed around the ring. It was just like a fun atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that interview that Corey just kind of gave us a brief little synopsis of, and gave us kind of an insight of what they ultimately chose to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
They ultimately chose, I'm not specifically sure if they took the 15,000. I didn't follow up enough on that in the following episode, but I do know that the Rockers did turn heel in that little run, because there was another interview that I found from the CWA that was priceless. And the interview is the picture behind me is actually taken from that interview. And Marty Jannetty starts off by like reciting every cool rock and roll song you could think of that has a snazzy line in it for the first couple minutes. And then Michaels, you can kind of see the beginning of HBK, like when he was the Heartbreak Kid in the early 90s. Yeah. You got the mullet going a little bit. You see that. And then just like how he kind of talks to or at or with the women in the crowd and everything. You can definitely see that arrogance or that swagger coming along with that.
Yep.
And I know just by talking with Steve, one of Michaels popped him pretty good on.
There was two things. There's two. So Michaels is like, and you got this spoonhead Scott Hall. I'm like, spoonhead? I never even heard that in my life. What the hell is a spoonhead? And then when Jannetty first takes the mic, he's talking to Lance Russell, the commentator, and he says, "Why don't you make like a sheep herder and get the flock out of here?"
Yeah, that was good. That was really line. Good. Do you think that line could get across nowadays? Like that one, get the flock out of here?
Maybe not.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And
the first one, no. The flock one, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what? One more time?
The one about Scott Hall, probably no.
The spoonhead might be derogatory.
Spoonhead one, but the second one, get the flock out of here. Yeah, because it's a funny word.
What's the spoonhead? Why would that be derogatory?
I don't know.
Am I totally ignorant? I'm so ignorant.
I don't know.
People could probably take it in a bad way or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way.
The second one would probably have better.
Either way, I found those to be funny lines, and I'm not apologizing for that.
Yeah, they were good heels. I never knew they were heels. They had some good.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
You know who they remind me of now?
Who's that?
The way they do way they were doing Miz and Morrison with all their funny antics.
Yeah, I could see that. What
do you think about that, Kyle?
Yeah.
What's that?
Do you think they have any? Do you think what the Rockers did, like with their antics back in CWA, have any idea with any tag teams that you think of now? I was thinking Miz and Morrison before.
You gotta put me on the spot. I don't know. I can't answer that question because I don't watch modern day wrestling. I think it's trash. One of you two have to be like, hey, did you see this? And if I go and watch it and it's like, oh, I gotta figure out
I gotta go on
this. So
Edge and Christian.
But anyways, Edge and Christian are a different type of humor. One of the cool things about what Steve was mentioning, and we were talking about, what we're all talking about right there, is how they're heels right now. We never really saw that. But at the same time, in about, I think, what was it? I think it was 80, well, in the 87, 88 range, Vern Gagne also saw these guys start making a lot of money down in his little town, little Memphis affiliate down there, making a whole bunch of money. He goes, well, I got to get some of that. You know what I mean? So he brought him back up to AWA. And what was cool about this was, in these days, the territories, they were still champions. They were still the CWA or AWA Southern Tag Team champions, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And they were heels in that territory. Yep. But when they went up to AWA, their history made them baby faces.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So they were doing two things at the same time: heel down the south, baby faces up north. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. And I just wanted to get that in before we kind of get to a couple matches that they had and then moving on to the WWF career. So one of the cool things they did was once they went up to the AWA, they ended up winning the AWA heavyweight tag team titles. So that they weren't able to keep both of them, right? Because now once they did that, they went on ESPN, I believe it was. So now like everybody saw them, so they no longer had to release the Southern titles, couldn't go down there as heels anymore, all that type of stuff. So kind of what I got from that was after they went back up north, they had a rivalry with the Nasty Boys and stuff like that down in the CWA. Caught the eye of Vern, like I just said, he brought him back up. They were splitting time as the babyface. And then they came back to the WWF to make a good old run there. Yep. They first got back to and then, and like Corey just said, in 1988. And in that situation, as Vince always has to do, he always has to be able to make the monies. So he has to change the name. He has to own the gimmick. So I don't know. I kind of like the Midnight Rockers better than the Rockers, but they changed it to the Rockers. They made their first/second appearance. It's crazy. Their second appearance on Superstars in a squash match, and then the Fassman. I know you got that history down. What pay-per-view and what type of match did they make their pay-per-view appearance in?
It was Survivor Series 1988.
Yep.
In a traditional 10-man tag. Well, sorry, let me phrase that. A traditional 10-man elimination match.
There you go. And within that match started like their first real feud, because their first trip in the WWF was so short they didn't get a feud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When you're there for a week, a week, you can't do anything. So
are you kidding me? In wrestling now, you'd have a pay-per-view and a title match within a week. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. And that is true. So in that match, Corey, did you know that is what started their first feud because of how they finished? They got double DQ with the Brainbusters in that match, and that ultimately led into their first like real feud. And they kind of kept going and having several great matches. But when I was doing some research on this one match that came up, and it was rated in the PWI 10th anniversary issue, they was their 50th greatest match. It was against the Brainbusters. Okay. Everybody knows the Brainbusters, right? We got
Arn and Tully.
I just want to bring that one up, and I would highly encourage people to do it. It was January 23rd, 1989 at MSG. You can watch that on YouTube. About 18 minutes. Yeah. Yep, about 18 minutes or so.
Or it might have been after the Rumble, because I remember it's always the Rumble used to always be the week before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where it lined up with the Royal Rumble, but I do know that the Scales, Stevie Scales over there, is dying.
I got a nugget on that match. Well, at the post match. So after at the Garden, right? They came back through into Gorilla, and Gorilla Monsoon, shook their hand. Tremendous match. And the Hulkster was sitting there because his match was probably coming up, and he looks at Shawn and Marty and he says, "How the hell am I supposed to follow that?" Apparently in a joking way, because Bruce Pritchard
Hogan,
was there.
right?
Yeah, Hogan said that. Yeah.
How am I supposed to follow that, brother?
Yeah, and Bruce Pritchard says he didn't mean it like in a mean way. He was saying it jokingly because he
congratulations.
He liked their work. Yeah, it was a congratulations. He did a hell of a job at the Garden. Yeah,
that's cool. You always gotta like that type of stuff.
Yep.
And what was it? You said you had so after that match in '88, they had a couple things. No, in 88, or 89, excuse me, with the Brainbusters.
With the Busters, yep.
Yeah, they had a few things going on in 90 and I believe 91 that Scales wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so
before we get into some bigger details.
Yeah, so in 89, just quickly, after they feuded with the Brainbusters, they had a long feud with the Fabulous Rougeaus.
Yep.
The Rougeau brothers. And apparently on House Show Loop, they were doing 60-minute Iron Man
matches. Yeah.
Which was unheard of at the time. I mean, none of these ever aired. They're all house shows. But how cool is that these crowds got to see 60-minute Iron Man matches with these two awesome tag teams?
Hey, I just want to chime in on that real quick. And we're going to kind of tease a segment that's going to come up. Yep. So when I'm doing I'm going to be doing a little fantasy booking. And when I was doing some research on that, I found that thing out, that little tidbit out, and I almost threw that match in there in some type of way, and I'll elaborate on that more because I thought that was really cool myself.
Yeah,
you always hear about Corey. You know how you always hear about the hour-long singles. You don't hear about the hour-long tags.
Right.
No,
they had.
I don't think I've ever seen an hour. I don't think I've ever seen an Iron Man.
No.
60-minute. Now I've seen like the 30-minute.
Right.
Man, obviously, like on a Monday Night Raw or something, and it's just like a 30-minute match. No Iron Man match. But I've never seen a 60-minute.
Yeah. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. They never end up releasing those either.
I don't think so. I don't think they're on the internet at all. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
Some jabroni, some local jobbers got him on his camcorder in his basement probably, and they'll never release him onto YouTube. So we'll never see him.
What was the other one? What was the other couple things you had?
A couple other things I had in my notes here as I'm looking down. So Survivor Series 89, they were in a Survivor Series team with Warrior and Neidhart, and they went against Andre and Haku, the Colossal Connection.
Yeah.
Arn Anderson.
Who got eliminated first in that match?
Hang on.
Sorry.
Andre Haku, Arn Anderson, but not Tully Blanchard, because Tully Blanchard was fired the day of Survivor Series for failing a drug test. So Tully Blanchard was not in the match. Bobby Heenan took his spot and was in the match, which is crazy. And in that, if you go back and watch that promo for that match, this is the one where Warrior's like, he takes off his wrist tape and he's walking around the Rockers and
taping everybody in
and taping them, and you can see they're like struggling to get it off, and Michaels is like starting to choke. He's like trying to get it off his neck. The Warriors just being a maniac as usual. So that was funny. So that was fun. People should go back and watch that promo from Survivor Series 89. What do I have from 1990? WrestleMania 6, they fought Orient Express, the original version, Tanaka and Sato. They lost by count out. It was a really good match. And that kind of leads into October 30th, 1990, was going to be their crowning achievement. And Kyle, do you want to?
So I just want to ask something. When was WrestleMania 5?
5 was 89.
89.
Yeah. How about
They fought the Twin Towers there, and they actually, there was a maneuver that they did that I don't know if they did it in AWA or not, but they did a double drop kick off the top, and I don't know if you remember it. Jannetty, they didn't jump at the same time, so Jannetty hits, I don't know if it was Bossman or Akeem, but Jannetty hits him first, and Shawn Michaels goes like a second too late, and he tries to drop kick him, but he's already down, and it kind of gets messed up a little bit. But it would have been a pretty cool spot if they hit it at the same time.
I do know the move we're talking about, but I can't see that instance.
Yeah, and one of them took a hellacious clothesline from Akeem during that match. It was like ridiculous. You got to go back and watch that match.
Such big men, dude.
Yeah, they're
Bossman at those times.
Yeah,
they were both over 300 pounds.
Yeah, monsters. Managed by the Slickster.
I love it. You'll see. I love them. You'll see something. I got something cooked up about them.
All right, good deal.
He's scheming.
So Kyle, did you want to go into the?
Honestly, Steve, I kind of like the way that you've been going and doing this. So I want to hear your thoughts about this.
I'll keep going. So October 30th, 1990, it was a Saturday night's main event taping.
That's what it was. Yep. And I know you're going.
This was going to be the Rockers' crowning achievement. They had now been in WWF for over 2 years, right? They were having tremendous matches with everybody, no matter who they faced, right? So Vince was going to put the titles on them. And they're facing the Hart Foundation, Brett and Shawn. We know where that goes. So this is going to be a great match.
How crazy. Everything's so
it circles back. Yeah, it circles back. Everything always does in wrestling. But anyway, so what happens during this match is that the freaking top rope, the ring breaks. The top rope comes down on one side of the ring.
Yeah.
And Saturday night's main event, for those that don't know, wasn't a live taping. It was a recording, right? So Brett and Brett's the consummate professional. They're like, all right, we'll figure this out. They're gonna fix it in post-production. We'll keep you on this. We'll try to stay on this side of the ring. We won't use the ropes. We'll keep you down in the headlock for a while so that they can edit in the second half of the match. But it doesn't. It looks like shit, and Vince is not happy with it. The Rockers win the match, right, on the recording. In the arena, they win the match. They win the belts. The crowd's going crazy. But the match never airs because Vince, it doesn't look good. They can't fix it. It's like, what is this shit? And if you go and watch the match, I don't know if this is on. No, this wouldn't be on TV because it didn't air. But anyway, Shawn Michaels is visibly frustrated after the match when he's holding the title. You can see him like slam the ring or something, is what Bruce Pritchard said, because he knows that it's not good. It's not. He had the bad feeling that it wasn't going to pan out. Vince was going to change his mind and kill it, and he did. And
one of the things, sorry, Steve. One of the things I saw and I kind of learned about this match was prior to this match, and kind of give it a little context, around the match. The Office just told the Hart Foundation, who were feeling at the time super secure in their spot with the company being the top tag team, that, hey, we want to have Brett as a singles push. And as much as he could, the Anvil was trying to be like, oh, that's fine, that's cool, whatever. But he was visibly upset.
Yep.
And Brett knew it, right? So the person who knocked the turnbuckle and top rope off was Anvil. So Brett jokingly says or thinks or something. I can't remember. I read this, so you can't really like imply what he was saying.
Right.
Jokingly says the Anvil did it on purpose to
sabotage.
sabotage.
Just as a joke. Okay.
As a joke,
the
right?
sabotage, yeah.
Right. But when you're Marty and Shawn, and the word gets back that to them that the Hart Foundation politic to keep the titles.
Right. Yeah, that's what Shawn always said. Yeah.
Yep. So it's always like I bet that there's a little bit down on them that believes that to be true.
Right.
So
and the sad thing is that they never got another. They never got them.
I know.
Like you would think,
and
like
they were supposed to.
Right, and they were supposed to, and there's so much. They were still together for a while after that, so there would have been opportunities. Yep. But apparently, Vince said, "Yo, we'll put it back on Hart Foundation. The Rockers will get back there eventually," and eventually just never came, which sucks.
Yeah. Why didn't it eventually ever come, Steve? Why don't you tell us about the good old barbershop incident here?
All right, so that match happens, right? Rumble 91 happens, which everyone needs to go back and watch that match because the Rockers versus the second incarnation of the Orient Express, which I never knew there was two different versions. So the second version of Orient Express was still Pat Tanaka, but it was a masked man named Kato, who is a man known as Paul Diamond, who Tanaka and Diamond was a tag team called Bad Company in AWA, who the Rockers had a feud with. So these guys worked together. And I think Paul Diamond even might have helped train Michaels at some point because this guy, he was around the business for a while. But anyways, that version of Orient Express and the Rockers have a knockdown, drag out, like 20-minute match at the Rumble 91. So go back and watch that. That's a tremendous match.
Okay.
WrestleMania 7, they get a win at WrestleMania 7 against the Powers of Pain.
I like those guys. Those are good. That was a good tag team.
Powers of Pain is good. And so now we're in 91, and now we're on the downslide because bad stuff's happening. So in the backstage, Marty and Shawn, they've been together for a while now, 5-6 years, riding in the car every day, going city to city. I think that they're getting on each other's nerves, is what Shawn would say in his book. Getting tired of each other's company. There was even a point where at a bar or something, Roddy Piper instigated a fight between the two. You guys heard about this? Where he's like, Shawn's going to be a star, and Marty didn't take that well. And he's like, they were probably pissed drunk, and Marty ends up knocking Shawn Michaels out. They get into a fight. And that was, not good news. And then, so that's like,
that may be the Coco Beware fight, just to jump in.
Okay.
That may be the Coco Beware fight.
So the cops ended up coming out to the bar. Somebody called the cops, and Randy Savage, like, intervenes into the situation and tells the cops, this is part of the storyline. You can go ahead and leave. This is a storyline, which I thought was kind of funny.
I'm going to look into that more and bring that up next week, but I'm pretty sure that Marty Jannetty ended up running and hiding back in the hotel room, and Coco Beware somehow got involved. Or I'm going to find you the true story about Coco Beware and Marty Jannetty fight. One of the two, folks.
We'll hear it soon. So Shawn and Marty are not getting along. So Vince was ready to make this call. He wants to turn Shawn heel. He's got money written all over him. He's a hell of a wrestler. He's got charisma. Shawn's going to be the big money heel. So we got to split these guys up, right? So how are we going to do this? So they start having some miscommunications in the ring, costing each other a match. Jannetty costed Shawn a match against Flair. I read at some point. I don't remember where that happened. Late 91. So now we get to, I have it written down here, a barbershop segment hosted by Brutus the Barber Beefcake, taped on December 2nd of 91. It aired on January 12th, 1992, I believe on Superstars.
Yep.
And, the Barber is trying to, hash out the problems between the Rockers. Come on, you guys are a great tag team. you got to work it out. The fans love you. The kids love you. They got your signs and your action figures. You got to stay together. You got to work out your issues. And, Shawn gives the look. He's like, you can see the slowly turning heel. And he's like, all right, fine. They shake hands. They embrace. Barber holds up their hands. They hold up each other's hands. They let go. Marty turns to the side. Shawn gives the look. Super kick. Down goes.
I knew he was going to do that.
I knew he was going to do that. What a
Heenan, that's awesome.
Yeah, and he had Gorilla. What a despicable act that was. And Jannetty's down. And then what's the next big moment? Right.
Bang!
Right through that.
Right through the window.
And what was who else was it? He's like, oh my God.
It was Gorilla and Bobby on the commentary.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah.
Then maybe I'm making conflating things. That was wild. He's just dangling there, and then
he's busted open.
Real blood.
Yeah, it was just a dark moment. I remember it as a kid. It was just like, holy cow! Like, you didn't really see things like that. You thought two guys were good friends in a tag team, and a heel turn like that. That's one of probably the greatest of all time. It just stuck with you as a kid. And that's where the Rockers were killed. He rips up the magazine, and that was it. That was the end of the Rockers.
Yeah, Steve, I agree, man. That moment when he ripped up the magazine, you could slightly see it as he was looking down. He's like, yeah, I got Marty in my right hand, I'm in the left. And he rips it and then throws it at him and holds himself up real quick and kind of walks away. The tag team, the run was so short, but it felt like it was so much longer.
It did. Yeah.
Like it really did. And they were so good together in the ring. Like their chemistry was just so on point. And the way they broke up, never thought he was gonna get thrown through the freaking window. Of all things, like I was thinking maybe cut his hair at that's like what they, the barbershop.
Yeah.
Like I guess I say that now. I probably wasn't even thinking that. You know what I mean? I was probably thinking, oh, they're together, and then oh no. But yeah, I like the Rockers. The breakup was one of the best breakups ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's
probably the best
that hold up to it. So
yeah. Don't forget though, didn't they have a match at the Rumble in '92? Or was it 93 at the Rumble?
93.
It's in Sacramento.
Yeah.
That was 1-on-1 though.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The blow off, or however you want to.
Yeah, because Michaels had the belt, the IC belt.
Yeah.
And everybody thought that Jannetty was going to win the belt from Shawn Michaels, get his revenge.
Yeah. And
take the belt from him at the Rumble, but never happened.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But anyway, so, the Rockers, one of the most, just to wrap it up, one of the most influential tag teams of the time. They were doing, high flying moves and the tandem maneuvers. They had so many tandem moves that were like tag team moves that were so cool. And I think that, left a big impact on the industry. And I think a lot of teams these days, the Hardy Boys from Attitude Era, maybe the Young Bucks, I think a lot of these teams took a lot of stuff from the Rockers. They're very influential. So hats off to Shawn and Marty, one of the best tag teams of all time. And wish they could have got those titles, but it was never meant to be.
Well, I hear that.
Yeah. So let's stay with the Rockers, throw it back to KVT for a little fantasy booking.
Well, thank you guys. That was fun. Appreciate everybody. Hopefully everybody maybe learned a couple things about the Rockers. Territory days, I sure did. But this week in this episode, we're gonna be switching over to fantasy booking with KVT. One of my favorite segments, because I'm always complaining. You guys heard this earlier in the episode about how creative just doesn't seem to really allow things to develop as they used to. And one of the things that Steve touched on as he was closing was how the Rockers, being they, never got the title, right? So in this week's fantasy booking, we're going to look at what would I have the path be if they won the titles on that Saturday Night Main Event, right? So I was thinking, and I brought these guys up earlier purposely in the podcast. I'm not sure if anybody caught up on this, but when I asked about WrestleMania 5, about who they fought, right, at WrestleMania 5. And in that match, they ended up losing to the Twin Towers in just about 8 minutes, I believe, right? So I'm gonna set up the stage for you so you can kind of see where I'm at and get why I'm the logic behind all this. So in this scenario, we got the Rockers winning. Everything was fine. They had the dream match they wanted, right? Neidhart and Brett, they're doing their own thing because they're trying to have Brett split off with a single star.
Mhm.
Who knows what's going on with Neidhart? Meanwhile, we got the champs, the Rockers now. They need an opponent, right? My first thought was, who has something to call out on them? Who has the upper hand on them, right?
Twin Towers.
Twin Towers, exactly, Corey.
Right.
So that, well, no, I kind of asked, I set you up to say that, right? By mentioning it earlier, right? So why not have them come out? And I'm thinking like, well, okay, this is 90, right? So one of the main shows that you're seeing most of the time is the classic superstars of wrestling, right? So this is what I would do. The following week, the week following that Saturday night main event, on that episode of Classic Superstars of Wrestling, I would have the Twin Towers and Slick come out and challenge the Rockers during like a backstage interview or something like that with Mean Gene, right? You know, to have the Slickster doing his all little, and then the Hakeem doing all this little stuff, you know, just all that type of fancy nonsense that they love to do, right? Like, I think that would be a good way to call them out. And my thought process behind that is the Twin Towers, again, beat them at WrestleMania. They would have a victory over the champions. And if the Rockers ditched them, or dodged them rather, they could call them cowards for not facing the team that already has a win over them because they're afraid that they're going to lose their title, things like that, right? Standards, very simple, straightforward. Your bad guys called the good guys cowards so that they have to not be looked at as yellow, right? To use an old term. Scared is to use a simpler term. And then the Rockers would come out in like maybe a following week's episode when they got a squash match on Classic Superstars of Wrestling and accept the challenge, right? And they come out and they say the standard Vince McMahon babyface type lines like, "Hey, we want a revenge. We want to get that revenge. It's been eating at us ever since it happened. We don't
duck anybody."
You know, all that type of white meat babyface Bob Backlund-esque type stuff that was honestly in play and then working back then in the 90s, right? So you have that type of stuff to develop why we're having these guys challenge versus other people, right? Then on the following week's episodes of Classic Superstars of Wrestling or other shows that may be out there at the time, like Prime Time, or anything like that I may be mistaken, you can have these type of segments that I'm about to lay out, right? You can have the Rockers having a match because they would always show matches in between the talking segments and have that match be going on and the Rockers going against like maybe, I don't know, let's just say a team that you brought up earlier, Steve, the Rougeaus, right? And like a good match at like a Boston Garden or something like that. Yep. That's a house show that people would like, right? But while that match is going on, sprinkle a little new school attitude era type of deal into it and have the Twin Towers and Slick come maybe out 3/4 way during the match, watch them, scout them, have Bobby Heenan and Gorilla build it up only like they could, right? Not interfere, just have Bobby Heenan and Gorilla do the bicker and be like, they're scared, and then have the Rockers kind of looking over and Heenan be like, look, see, I told you, they're afraid of them. They should be focusing on the Rougeaus, all that type of stuff, right? So now this is going, the whole time frame I'm looking at is November when they got the titles, right? Because they won on October 30th.
Yep.
Going to January 91. We're building this all the way up through that time, right? Okay. We have all those type of things. We have all those cool little interactions. The only way they could do the vignettes and stuff like that back in the day, right? All those little things. Now here comes the fun part. And this is where I got a little bit I think I got a little bit creative here. I could be wrong. You guys can tell me at the end what you think about it now that we got the whole backstory. Now we're having a match at right about 2 weeks before Royal Rumble. They would always have the teams do one last little gimmick match to show how strong they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we would have the Rockers would get on one of those shows having their matches. and the bad guys have to there has to be some type of contact right before the match, right? So I would have the Twin Towers come down and interfere on their match and somehow cost them a match and just build a little bit more heat, just a little bit more heat as you go. Now we get to Royal Rumble and we have their match, right? And this is kind of how I'd have the match laid out. I would have the Rockets come out on fire like normal, right? Using the speed and agility and the cake line from Gorilla Monsoon, or it's either Gorilla or JR. I can't remember which one, but taking the big guys off their feet, okay? But then somehow, as they're doing all that, the Slickster gets in there, gets involved. Marty's going to do a drop kick off the top rope, turnbuckle, pushes him off. I think I'll have the Boss Man in there right now. Takes advantage of it, right? They just do the big man working over Marty for 7-8 minutes, really having Marty think he's going to get away like the cat playing with the mouse, you know what I mean? I'm going to get away and then, no, I'm going to bring it right back. Like that type of stuff. And then Marty somehow finally gets away, as they always do, gets the hot tag to Shawn. Shawn's coming in. He's just drop kicking, doing the running, jumping for him off the ropes like he does, dropping the elbows. He got the drop kick, the Boss Man out. Now he's got a key in the ring. He's got him on the ropes. He's got him down for the elbow. Hits the elbow. Slickster somehow manages to get back up on the ropes, right? Shawn's sitting there. He's got him covered for 1, 2, 3, but the ref's focusing on that. But the referee in this situation would be Dave Hebner. Just because I want to throw that out there. But out of nowhere, as the ref's getting distracted by the Slickster, and she's like, hey, look over here. One of Shawn's old nemesis now turns to be a friend. And it's one of the most unpredictable people I could come up with, but still would be entrenched into this storyline deeply. Playboy Buddy Rose, still on the roster in 91, comes down and pulls the Slickster off. Marty Jannetty's now regained himself. He's come off. They do the double drop kick that you talked about, Steve. Yep. That's why I looked at you kind of like, okay, you son of a gun when you brought that up earlier. They do hit the Hakeem with that, and Shawn gets on top of him. Dave starts to count. Marty does the standard. I'm just going to get in your way to the Boss Man. He's rolling in, and the Rockers retain the title with the help of an old nemesis turned friend, Playboy Buddy Rose.
I like that.
That's good.
That's pretty damn good.
That's good.
That's kind of how I would do that.
I had the visual of the match is going on as you were talking too.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was sick.
So I don't know. I always like the book, and I figured since I always give critiques, I should try to see what my own chops are. But
what happens after the match?
Huh?
What happens after the match with Shawn Michaels and Buddy Rose?
Yeah.
Well, that's for another fantasy book.
You can't leave us in suspense like that, champ. Come on now.
Hey, what do they call it? Episodic television.
That's right. Okay. Tune in next week. Maybe we'll have more.
Okay.
So, hope you guys like that little 1, 2, 3 that I gave on their run from Saturday night event, October, Christmas, basically Halloween to the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
To kind of give Corey a little insight, what I was looking to do, and after this, and I asked you guys for a little bit of advice of how long I should go with this and how far out I should go. What I was originally going to do is, instead of having Playboy Buddy Rose come out, I was going to have the Rougeaus come out and try to screw over the Rockers, but the Rockers somehow come over top of it like a babyface would do, and then have Steve as one of the bigger matches as we build up, because this time of year, at this time of
Mania
wrestling, you can build up 3 months and have a good match at WrestleMania and have it be one of those hour-long Iron Man tag matches.
Yeah.
And so when I was right along with you when you said that, and when I was asking you guys for advice about how far out I should go, that was one of my things. I always wanted to tie back. One of the key things is, why are these guys fighting each other?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how can why are the Twin Towers over Power of Glory? You know what I mean? Or whatever. So that's kind of where I went with it. So I was on top. I was on with all those things you were mentioning earlier. But what are you guys' thoughts? Anything you would add? Maybe tweak a little bit, or what do you think?
The only thing that I may have, because obviously they, like you said, they beat the Hart Foundation for the belts at Saturday Night Main Event. Obviously, Brett goes off to do his thing, but where's Jim Neidhart? So as Slick is doing his thing in the match, and obviously the heels are about to win the belts, who comes down to try and do it to save the Rockers? The Anvil.
You would have Neidhart saving him.
Yes, because
Why?
Neidhart's trying to get a name. Everybody's just known him as a tag wrestler.
Yeah.
Maybe now is a time for him to get his name out there as a face, as a singles face, and help the Rockers.
I get where you're going with that.
And then set up a feud with him and the Boss Man.
So I get where you're going with that, but the only reason why I do not think it would work, I think you could do exactly what you said, but it has to be done to a singles match. If you're trying to make him a singles wrestler, you can't interject him into a tag team match and then have him go one-on-one against half of a tag team, in my thought process.
Yeah.
So I would take I like what your thought was, though, if you had him do it to like a singles match, but I focus mostly here, Corey, on the Rockers, just because I wanted to like think about like what would happen after if they actually did get that title run, like who would they have been against? So
that was awesome.
That's where I went with that. I wish I could get a job. Connecticut, call me and work remote.
I was about to write down there.
You can go on there.
Just listen. Let's get Vince on the phone now.
Go on the corporate site. They list job opportunities. Go check it out.
Yeah, maybe.
You get Hunter, get Paul Levesque on the phone. Let's get this guy a job in Stamford. Let's go.
I'm not quitting my day job. Let's just say that. But anyways, folks, I'm glad that it seems that I hit a good little storyline there for 3 months. Maybe got a couple dollars. Maybe got a couple asses every 6 inches as JR, or 12 inches as JR says. So that's This Week in Fantasy Booking with KVT. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a fun episode of talking about the Rockers. But now we're going to go into a little bit of what you all wanted to hear. And Stevie Scales, the man that runs the fan mail, will drop a little love and maybe throw some criticism at us if there is any. Hopefully not.
Nah, no criticism. So we got some fan mail.
Proceed for another time.
Yeah, we got some fan mail. And for those that don't know, TheGoldenAttitudeEra at gmail.com. Send us ideas, send us questions, comments, whatever. We'll mention you on the show. This one is a really good one because
you want to join. I'm sorry, Steve.
Yeah,
if you want to join in on a situation like try to stump the stunning one, or stump, or just if you just want to talk about a topic that you think's interesting and we want to talk about it too, we'll definitely have you on for that.
We can have guest speakers on. Absolutely, we can have guest commentators.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we got some fan mail. Steve C from East Rutherford, New Jersey. Who's a good
Stevie C.
I still think that's Steve Carino.
Steve Carino, yeah, the ECW alumnus. So this email says, and I'm going to read it from my phone. I have it open here. It says, "Hey gents, love what you guys do on the podcast. It's great to relive wrestling's greatest eras. While in-ring talent is obviously the cornerstone of a good product, the commentators, interviewers, and ring announcers are the unsung heroes who contribute to the overall entertainment value. My question is, if you were to assemble the ultimate dream team of anyone, living or dead, from any federation or company, who would fill the following roles?" And what Steve says here is 3 commentators, 2 backstage interviewers, and 1 ring announcer. So what we're going to do.
Can you clarify?
Yeah.
Backstage.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into it. So when I read this question, and it's a great question, what my brain started churning was snake draft, scale snake draft. This is perfect because this is like a fantasy team. You have different positions. We're going to have multiple rounds. We're going to go through, each of us going to make our own picks. It's going to be tremendous. So thank you, Steve. This is an awesome question. It's going to be a great segment, but we're going to put a little different tweak on it. So we're still going to stick with 3 commentators. So we're going to have a 3-man booth. We're going to just do one backstage interviewer. So think of a backstage interviewer as a Mean Gene, right? Everybody knows Mean Gene. That's a backstage interviewer in a sense. One ring announcer. We know what a ring announcer is.
Yep.
And then our additional piece that I threw in is I wanted to add an interview segment. So I've got one right behind me is the barbershop as an example. So we always, as kids, we love the interview segments. There's so many good
We can cross that one off because that's obviously going to be yours.
No, maybe we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it's going to fall off the board before I get a chance. So let me, I'm going to, as I introduce Scales Snake Draft, this is our 3rd edition on week 4 because we skipped over, we didn't do one last week. So this is the 3rd edition of Snake Draft. So let me share my screen here. If I can pull up our Snake Draft. Let me know once you guys can see it.
Got it.
Looks good.
Got it.
Good to me.
So here's what we're going to do. So KBT is going to have the first pick. Then I'll go second. And then the Fassman is going to be on the end of the snake.
Yep.
And we've got 7 rounds. Down here, I'll keep track of our roster, so to speak, with our ring announcer, our three-man booth, our backstage announcer, and our interview segment. And obviously, once somebody is picked, they are off the draft board. We cannot pick the same guy twice. So we're all going to have unique teams, unique dream teams, as Steve C said.
So one ring announcer, 3-man booth, 2 backstage announcers.
Nope. 1 backstage announcer and 1 interview segment.
Why do you have 7 then?
7?
Why do you have 7 rounds?
Because I don't know how to count. And that is the reason why the Fassman is here. 6 it is.
Cool.
There we go. We just gained some time.
There we
So
go.
KVT, do you want to start us off with
Any
your first
order,
pick?
right? I can do any order.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can do whatever you want, big
whatever
boy.
you want, as long as it's in one of
Start us
these
off.
categories. Yep.
I gotta have this guy. I have to. Gorilla.
I know
I
it.
have to have Gorilla Monsoon.
Gorilla
I can't
Monsoon,
not-
number 1 pick.
You can't not do it.
Yep.
There it is.
Oh,
Wow.
will you stop?
Stop. So Gorilla Monsoon, number 1 pick.
Yep.
I'm actually surprised you didn't go with this guy, his loyal compadre, or maybe not so
Who?
loyal.
Heenan.
I'm going to take Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Just write down Bobby the Brain to make. There you go. You got it in. Okay.
That's my commentator.
Okay.
One of my
Well,
commentators.
you left me with some good choices to start off. So
Yeah, let's see.
with my first pick, obviously, as much as I love the 2 guys that you guys came up with, I'm going to go with this guy as my number 1. Good old JR.
Wow, good pick. Or
And then,
commentator heavy in the first round.
Wait,
Yep.
does Corey go back to back?
Yeah, he got 2 in a row.
Oh.
yep. And then what I'm going to do, I didn't know much about this guy until Kyle talked me onto him.
Better not talk to anybody good.
But this guy's also very good.
Who is it?
Suspense is killing me.
Who could it be?
Oof. I'm going to go off the cuff.
Okay.
First shocker of the
wow.
draft.
Shocker.
Who is it?
Tony Schiavone.
Wow, nice. A little WCW love.
Tony Schiavone.
Yep. Tony Schiavone.
Oh.
Going WCW
You-
and he was also WWF at 2.
He was. You got the 2/3 of the AEW
I do.
booth.
Of AEW, I do.
Who's the other one?
Who
The
that?
mask guy
The
still?
mask guy. Yeah, I don't even know his
Yeah,
name.
I'm blanking on his name.
Ex-Trinity?
Some
Or
jabroni.
Excalibur?
Yeah,
No,
Excalibur. that's
Excalibur,
it.
yeah.
Jabroni.
All right.
Yeah.
So those
I
are my
know
2
all the
picks to
people
start
I
off.
hate.
All right, so he wasn't on my board. He was on my board. I'll cross him off. Okay, Shivani's gone. I am going to. I'm going to take the most prestigious backstage interviewer off the board. I'm going with Mean Gene. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Gene Okerlund.
Yep. Just put Mean Gene.
Yeah, there you
Oh, you
go.
got it in there. Close enough.
Yep. Yeah.
KVT.
KVT,
Mina.
you got Mina. You got 2 in a row, buddy.
Yeah, 2 for Kyle.
You need to have, you got your good guy commentator.
Yep.
You need to have your Hale commentator.
Uh-oh.
You know it. Everybody loves him. The
The body.
governor. The
The
governor.
body.
Jesse.
Wow,
That's
there
a
you
good
go.
body.
Good pick.
Perfect. Love it. What a great duo they were. Gorilla
Yep.
and Jesse.
And just because how this is going, I feel like I got my running back, I got my wide receiver. Now I need my
You need your quarterback.
now I need my quarterback. You know, everything starts and ends with your ring announcer.
Ah, damn it.
Ooh.
Don't do it.
The
Don't do it.
Fink.
Ah, you bastard.
Yep.
The Fink.
And new. Every time
WWF World Heavyweight Champion.
I try to find something, I always try to find that when something big happens.
Yep.
I just can't find a good like short
Fink's
clip
the
of it.
best.
Think so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, when I was at 2011 Survivor Series and he surprisingly came out to introduce Punk, the crowd, like the garden went ballistic. It was like
Yep.
so awesome. The Fink for his return. All right, so I'm up. So
Don't forget to put him down at the bottom, just so we
oh,
get
there,
one
yep, there you go. I was so excited about the Fink, I didn't even put him down there. Okay.
Good pick there, Kyle. I
Oh,
didn't think you were gonna go there that fast. Good call.
Guys.
what am I doing here? Okay. I
Is
am
that your
going
surprise?
to-
No,
Or
not
not yet?
at all. Not at all.
Okay.
These should all be top. I feel like I got 3 number ones right here. To be
I have
honest
two number.
with you.
I have a surprise.
I'm going to take the first interview segment off the board. I'm going to go with the classic, the one that started it all.
Piper.
Piper's Pit.
Piper. Okay.
Piper's
Okay.
Pit. Yep.
Okay.
All right. And again,
Yep.
we're doing from all. We're not just doing
Whatever you want to do.
everything.
Whatever
No,
you
we're
want
doing
to do.
everything, right?
Everything, anything you want.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any era, any federation. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Well. Oh. Whew. This is tough. I'm going to go with another surprise. I'm going with the Undertaker interview segment. The
Funeral
party.
parlor.
The funeral parlor.
Funeral
Funeral
parlor.
parlor. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Paul
I like
Bearer.
that one.
Yeah.
Funeral parlor.
Yeah. That's a good pick.
And then put that down. There you go. Sorry, I didn't know if you had put it down there. My apologies.
Yep. You're good.
And then I'm going to, yep. I'm doing as fast as I can. Settle down. And then for my fourth pick,
What?
I'm going to go with a backstage announcer.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Kyle's boy, Sean Mooney.
Yeah. Nice. There you go.
I am a little
Classic.
pissed off about that one.
You were hoping he was going to land.
I love Mooney.
You were hoping
Sean
you
Mooney
turned me
fan.
on to Mooney. You were hoping he was going to land to you, didn't you?
Dude, I just love, dude, the fake lockers behind every
Oh, yeah.
interview he did.
Yeah.
Like,
Classic.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Back to
I'm
the
up.
scales. Round
All right.
4.
I'm gonna go with my second commentator here, and I've already got my heel color guy. I'm gonna go with my play-by-play guy, and he may not be the best, but you know what?
fuck.
Oh,
He's
I
the boss.
didn't think you would. Wow, I can't believe he was still on the board.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Vinnie Mac.
Dang, I wanted that one so bad. I
Yeah.
wanted that one bad.
Vincent
I got my
Bobby.
backup though. I got a backup out there.
All right, Kyle, KVT for 2.
So my backstage announcer, I'm gonna go Michael Cole.
Oh, okay.
I was either going to go him or Mooney. Good call. I like
I
that one.
loved when The Rock used to make fun of him.
Oh yeah, classic.
I love when he would make fun of Coach as well.
Now
Let's see.
my interview segment
Yeah.
or my commentator. My interview segment or my commentator. Okay, you all got your interview segment, so I should go with my commentator.
Good strategy.
Um,
Oh, got a
I
little
got the
reverb
Fake.
going on.
I got Gorilla. I got Ventura. Why not go with Lord Alfred Hayes?
Oh,
Okay.
Nice.
Good call.
I like it. There you go. Yeah, let's say Lord Alfred. We're keeping it. Alfred. Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna go with my third commentator, and I am I will go with another heel type, but somebody who's got a great mind for the business.
Jerry.
Paul Heyman. Okay.
I'll take Paul Heyman. I think that'd
Nice.
be a good three-man
I wasn't even
booth.
thinking of Paulie.
Yeah, I love Heyman as a commentator. I like my booth. There you go.
Okay.
All right, Fassman, you're up. Your last two picks here. It looks like you need a ring announcer and a commentator.
Yep. I'm going to go with the ring announcer only because I like this guy the way he would always do great on SmackDown. Tony Chimmel.
Nice, good pick. Rated R Super.
Rated R Superstar. I was thinking they were going to use
he the one that
him
did Shane?
at Mania.
Is
What?
he the one that did Shane McMahon's? Would Shane would be like this?
No, that was someone else.
Yeah, that was probably like Greg Hamilton, one of the current.
I
It wasn't
enjoyed
Chimmel.
that. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
I was thinking they were going to bring out Chimmel to do Edge's intro at Mania this year.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. And then I need my third commentator.
Yep.
When you have JR, you got to have the king.
That's right. There you go. The reunion.
Yep.
I don't know why, Corey, but I was pegging you for somebody else for that spot.
The other one I was going to go would have been Mike Tenay.
Nope.
Oh, Iron
Joey
Mike
Styles.
Yeah, that was a good one. I had him on my list.
Okay, I see you, but nah.
Not for me, but I was thinking you.
No. Right. No, I could see where I could have used that, but
By the way, my sleeper was Kevin Kelly.
I had Kevin Kelly written down for a backstage.
That's a good one too.
I was looking announcer.
Kevin Kelly.
He announced Raw.
No, he was
a
an announcer, but I was thinking
He was a commentator. He was a commentator for Raw.
Yeah,
Right.
He was for a little bit.
He was more on Sunday Night Heat though too.
Yeah, he was on Sunday Night Heat too. All right.
Then
My
Ring of
last
Honor.
pick. I need a ring announcer, and well, the WWF is known for the Fink. In WCW, there was really two guys. There was one guy in the late 80s, early 90s, and then there was a guy during the Nitro era. I'm going to go with the guy from the Nitro era because that's kind of the era I grew up with. So I'm going to go with David Penzer.
Dave Penzer.
I always thought he's got a good voice.
He did.
When I hear him, I just think Nitro. It brings back good memories.
And Saturday night.
Yep.
And WCW Saturday night.
Yep. So I'm going to go with Dave Penzer.
Good call.
KVT.
Finish us up, big boy.
Well, if you know me, this is simple. This is easy. The Brother Love Show.
I knew it. I had you for that one.
Brother love you.
I love you.
There we go.
I think we all did. I think we have a pretty solid draft board here, boys.
I'll do a quick recap here. So KVT, you got the Fink calling your superstars down to the ring. Your three-man booth features Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura, along with Lord Alfred Hayes. A lot of 80s vibes going on in that booth. I love it. It's classic.
They're all wrestlers, though. All
and
former wrestlers, too.
Yep. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Backstage announcer, you went Michael Cole, little Attitude Era love there. The wrestlers always like to pick on him. He played his role very well. And then interview segment, our good buddy Bruce Pritchard, the Brother Love Show. I love your
He
report.
loves you.
Great
Can you
list.
see what era of wrestling I enjoy?
Yeah. Can you tell that Kyle was an 80s guy or not?
Yeah, Kyle was definitely an 80s guy.
And then we got Scales. So I went with Dave Penzer, the voice of WCW ring announcing. My three-man booth featured Bobby the Brain Heenan, Vince McMahon, and Paul Heyman. My backstage announcer was the late, great Mean Gene Okerlund. And my interview segment is the Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Could you ever imagine a day where you would have ever seen a three-man booth of Vince, Bobby Heenan, and Paulie Dangerous?
I would have loved to see that.
I think it would be too much, man.
What do you mean?
I think it would just be too much.
Why?
Vince is going to be going 1, 2, and then Bobby Heenan's going to be trying to say like some type of snide comment, and Paul Heyman will be talking over. I just feel like everybody's going to be talking over each other.
It'll be.
I'm here for it. I want to see it.
It'll be entertaining.
I want to see
that's
it
for sure.
No, I agree, Steve. I'm here for it. I want to see it. I
And
just think
then,
it's just going to be like an awesome cluster.
a great cluster. And then the Fassman, Tony Chimmel, let's say the voice of SmackDown as his ring announcer.
Yep.
His commentary booth, the two voices of Monday Night Raw, Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, along with the voice of Nitro, Tony Schiavone. What a great booth that would have been there. Backstage announcer, the classic, late 80s, early 90s, Sean Mooney. We all love Sean Mooney.
Yep.
And his interview segment, he went with Paul Bearer and the Funeral Parlor. Paul Bearer is such a character. He's, always asking great questions and the great facial expressions, and just a great interview segment, I think. So there's
Corey,
our.
I love that pick. That was a good pick.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
was debating if one of you guys stole Brother Love, I was either going to go that one or the Snake Pit.
Yeah, Snake Pit was good too. That's a good one. Snake Pit. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought of that one.
it's a good one.
Okay.
So we're gonna wrap up the scale snake draft. So thank you, Steve from New Jersey, for giving us this great
Thank
idea.
you, Steve Carino.
Steve Carino from New Jersey. Thank you for this idea. And we know what time it is now. It is trivia time after this.
Yeah, definitely, Steve. I'm looking forward to the trivia challenge that I laid out to you last week. Gonna be quite honest. About 30% confident here. But when I see that gold come out, I just get a little bit more greedy. So I think I'm gonna take it. So as you know, last week we did our first ever Stump the Stunning One challenge here. Corey put up a valiant effort at the very beginning. But ultimately Steve hit him with a stunner and got him out of the ring. I think it was 4-1. Hopefully I can put up a little bit better of a fight, but
I think
you
you
never
will.
know. Corey's promised some good questions here.
Yep.
We did some steep negotiations from the last show to this one. We got everything lined out, and hopefully I can have the stipulation in my favor. So Corey, whenever you want. Let me take that belt from Steve.
Yep, we got champion versus champion. We got the $1 million champ versus the heavyweight champ.
There's only one belt on the line, though, folks.
Only,
Just
yeah, but not
throwing it
title
out
for
there.
title. Only
Title for
Steve's
title.
title's on the line.
Not
So,
title for title.
yep, no title for title. This ain't WrestleMania 6. So, all right. You ready, boys?
Let's do it.
All
Sure,
right.
yeah.
Question number 1. Going WCW back in the day.
Great.
Who was the, you got to be careful with the way I'm asking this question.
Okay.
Who was the final WCW World Heavyweight Champion? The final champion. Okay.
Can you clarify?
I was just thinking that, too.
Hang on.
The
So are you saying
final champion
so like as the final Nitro went off the air, or
ever?
Wait, so this is confusing, though, Corey.
No,
So are you talking about the big gold belt, or are
Yes.
you talking about
the
Right,
World
so
Heavyweight Champion.
right? But before Vince bought it, or after Vince bought it? So Steve, I'm
because there was
Sorry, too.
WCW champion in WWE.
Okay, I see what you. No. Let
Just in
me clarify.
WCW.
Before Vince Nitro.
so the last show.
The last show of
There you go.
Nitro.
Okay,
The
I
last
gotcha.
time we ever saw a show on
Boom.
TNT.
All right, I sent you my answer.
Man, I should have done better negotiations.
Oh, shut up. Okay, question number 2. Who was the final WCW World Heavyweight title holder on a WCW pay-per-view?
Oh boy, Kyle's in trouble. A lot of WCW here.
On a WCW pay-per-view. Okay, Steve's in with his answer. Okay. Question 3. In which year
I got
was
that
the,
one.
in which year was the very first In Your House pay-per-view? Okay. Question 4. At In Your House 6 from Louisville, Kentucky, these two managers both went 0-2. Name both managers.
Oh boy.
They were outside the ring.
Yes, both these managers went 0-2 that night.
Their wrestlers lost. Yeah.
Their wrestlers both went 0-2. Right. Who were the two managers? Okay.
There's 5 questions, right?
Yes, that's question number 4.
Oh, hang on.
It was called In Your House number 6.
Well, it was the 6th version of In Your House.
Steve,
I don't
you
know what
put your
I don't know what
answer
the
in there?
actual
Yeah, I
name
just
of
put
it
it in.
was.
Yeah.
Okay, then well, Corey just asked my next question. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Number 5.
Okay. Question number 5. We all know Shawn Michaels went on to defeat Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12 in the Iron Man match for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Who did he beat at In Your House 6 to earn that right?
Answers in.
Yep.
Ask it again.
Sure. We all know Shawn Michaels went on to defeat Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12 in the Iron Man match for the belt. Who did he
part.
beat? Who did he beat to earn that right?
96, you said?
96, yes. At In Your House before WrestleMania 12. Okay. And here's the bonus question.
No, wait.
We only do that one if we're tied. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh.
here's the tiebreaker question.
No, don't ask it yet.
We just do it. We'll see if we're tied, and then we'll ask it.
Okay.
And then if not, we'll just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So question 1, you both got correct. It was Booker T. Question number 2 was the final on a pay-per-view. Steve was right with Scott Steiner. You went with Jeff Jarrett. You were both correct with question 3 with 1995. Well done. I also would have accepted where it was. It was in New York. It was in Syracuse.
Nice.
So kudos to both of you on that. Question 4 was the two managers. Kyle, you went with Mr. Fuji and Cornette. Steve, you went with Cornette and Ted DiBiase. Steve was correct.
Ted DiBiase.
Yep. Well done there.
I was thinking Fuji was
Yeah.
where they were.
I struggled on
I
DiBiase.
did not
Finally
think both.
came to me.
I didn't think either of you would gotten both of them.
That was a hard one. That was a good
So
question.
who was Cornette? Who was Cornette with? Owen Hart and the Bulldog, and who else?
Vader.
Vader.
Fucking Vader.
Yeah.
Yoko was eating food at this time. God dang it.
Yeah.
And question 5. I'm surprised that you got this answer real quick, Steve. It was who did he beat? Owen Hart.
Oh, Owen.
Yep.
I went Sid.
Yeah, you did. It's okay. So Steve wins again, but it was close. It was
What'd I get?
close.
2.5.
You got the first one right. You got the third one right. You got half of the fourth one. So yeah, I'll give you 2.5. So you put up a good fight. I give you credit for it.
Beat the fast man.
You did. You beat the fast man. The champs. The Steve retains the belt.
Hey, dude, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
We'll get him. We'll
The
get
streak
him.
is building. 2-0. The streak is.
Yep, he's 2-0.
accumulating.
All right, but let's go over this one. This was a fun question. So this one might be easy.
Okay.
How did the casket match at Beware of Dog 2 end?
When it closed.
What was the match? Who was in the match?
Is he against Gold? He was against
Bet
Goldust?
you Undertaker wasn't in it.
It was Taker versus Goldust, was it?
It
Or
was
no?
Taker versus Goldust, correct. How did the match end?
I have no idea.
Steve?
Did Taker lose? Or if he lost, then I have a guess.
Was it a gold casket involved?
Yeah, well, I think it was a golden casket.
Golden casket.
The ending is not in my. I can't. Once
Pretty
you say
sure
it,
that Goldust ran away because he was afraid. But Corey, you gonna tell us?
I'm about to. Goldust won.
Mankind helped him.
Mankind helped
Yeah.
him. Mankind was
Popped
in the
up out
casket.
of the casket.
He did.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
You are correct.
That was
Cool.
good. Good question.
Well, Steve,
You did good.
good match.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Almost got you. Almost got you.
Anybody want to come for this belt?
I mean,
I'm here.
Fassy, what are you thinking? You know anybody that we can maybe get on here?
I don't know. Like we can set out some open. And I take it the champ is setting out an open challenge.
The Stunning One. You got anybody that you want to particularly call out? Maybe.
We'll see if our first fan mail, Steve C from East Rutherford, New Jersey, maybe he wants to take
Steve
a
Carino. You up for the challenge, Steve Carino?
I also know that you might have a couple buddies that are pretty knowledgeable in wrestling as well that do a little show. Maybe a little cross brand promotion.
Yeah, we'll see if Mike or Sid.
Yeah, see if you feeling froggy about that.
You got Psycho Sid in there?
Psycho Sid.
we can negotiate terms with questions and make sure they realize it's on the up and up. I'm okay with them taking out the champ. I mean, as long as they stick around with the belt and we don't gotta do a little Montreal screw job up in here. But
we'll see if Mike or Sid want to
not take the belt to WCW.
That's right.
That was back to their show. You'd hate to see that.
Yeah, really hate you. Yeah, you'd hate to see that.
Shout out. So, well, that was fun episode, guys. It really was. We got into some stuff. The snake draft was good. I had fun doing the fantasy booking.
Yep.
As always, the staple of the show, This Week in Wrestling History. And then I think this last segment here is going to really kind of become something where we can get really interactive and hopefully with the fans and getting them on here.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank everybody for coming out and listening. And again, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at TheGoldenAttitudeEra.
You say TikTok?
Find us
I said TikTok. I can't say anything right now. What I'm trying to say is, well, this is live, pal. What I'm trying to say is, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok.
There you go.
At The Golden Attitude Era, and also on Facebook at The Golden Attitude Era Podcast.
Yep.
And also, Steve, one more time with the fan mail
email address. TheGoldenAttitudeEra at gmail.com.
Great. Well, everybody, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and we see you next time.
Shout out to Grayson. Stay strong, kid.
Yeah, Will.
Yes, she is. She's going to be a strong one, and she's obviously.
You're the only one in this group that's not soft.
That's right.
Exactly.
SAWFT.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.